there, welcome to your Positive Energy Recharge. I am Jade Sterling, your women's health coach and nurse. I'm here to help you to balance your hormones, master your emotions, and live a life that you love. Now today we're talking about getting your relationships in order, like literally in order from 1 to 7. When I first came across this concept myself, I was actually near my rock bottom. I was having a really hard time triaging my energy and my time for the people in my life, in every area of my life. I really felt like I was struggling to show up as the person I wanted to be in my marriage, and also as the parent that I wanted to be. I felt like I was failing my children. My mother was experiencing chronic health issues and she had to come and live with us for a time. My work was all-consuming and overwhelming, and then of course there was the community work that I was doing and the volunteer work that I was doing and all the other elements and relationships that you're showing up to people in your day-to-day life. I really felt like I was drowning. And I remember just having this particular moment. It's funny the things that stand out to you when you look back and you realize that, wow, that was a moment when I realized that I needed help. I remember standing in the supermarket. I was just buying a few groceries. There was just a few things of key ingredients we were missing from our home that just I knew that would make it easier if I got through the next couple of days to then go and do a big shop. But I remember standing at the freezer section and it was cold. It was the beginning of winter and I was cold and I was standing there cold in the front of the freezer section looking at this particular door that I was trying to deliberate whether to open or not. And I remember feeling frozen. The irony, really, isn't it? Myself. And I remember thinking, I'm cold, I'm freezing, I'm frozen. And then my brain was like, I'm frozen. What am I here for? Like, why am I'm looking at the freezer door? And I felt like my brain was just having a complete meltdown. My sister called me on my phone and I answered and she says, oh, where are you? I'm like, I'm in the supermarket. I'm standing here looking at the freezer section and I'm not sure why I'm here. And I started to cry. She was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm frozen in time. And I realized that trying to go back and identify the thought that I was feeling before I had the freeze, I was there to try and organize some dinner for everyone in my house. And my kids were both going through such a fussy phase. No one wanted to eat anything. My husband, he likes good food, and I knew he was doing a lot of hard, laborious work during the day. So he was going to be hungry. What was going to fill him up? What was going to be a good meal for him? And then my mum, who was living with us at the time, had a very delicate stomach and ate like a bird. And I remember thinking, how can I please everyone? That was the thought. That was the moment. And that was my freeze in the freezer section at Coles, while trying to figure out how I was going to please everyone. And I said to my sister, I need to figure this out. I need some help. Which she completely understood. She was doing the best that she could, showing up in her life, but I felt like it was not help that I could get from anything that I already knew. I needed a new perspective. And I've told the story before in previous videos. You go back and have a bit of a listen as to how I then went on to have a few other insights and a few other experiences. But I found Dr. Paul Jenkins, who I'm actually going to be interviewing for Tuesday Chats at the end of this week. So go and check out that conversation that I have with Dr. Paul Jenkins on Tuesday Chats of this channel. Really is an incredible teacher, psychologist is what he does. He's a coach, he's my mentor, and he's become my friend. Over the time, I'm so fortunate to have met him and come into contact with him in his work. But he had this video that I found on YouTube, Live on Purpose TV. Go and check it out. It's a channel right here on YouTube that talked about getting your relationships in order. And once again, it's one of those things where I look back and I think, how did I even come across that video? I don't even know. There are so many of his videos that just popped up in my life. Also because my husband found him while he was looking for some parenting advice. So his videos started to pop up in our feeds, and the titles of his videos really grabbed my attention, and I thought, I need some of that. And this particular video that to be completely honest, can't remember what it was called, so you'll have to just look it up, was about getting your relationships in order. You might not have to look it up after watching this, because I'm going to try and simplify it for you in the simplest way, but just to give you a little bit of an insight as to what it's all about. And he offers, and I like to use that word, offers, a list of order that you put your relationships in. Now, this list was created and curated after 30 years of work as a clinical psychologist. It was something that he found over the course of his time in practice, that if you had your relationships in this order, the people who did that, whether it was conscious or unconscious, were happier, were living more fulfilling lives for themselves. They were enjoying more connection and interaction in their relationships, and they were just darn happier in their lives. And so he presented this list not even as a suggestion, certainly not as a recommendation, as an offering. For just imagine if you thought about things this way, how life would work out for you. Something to consider. And I think that was the biggest thing with Dr. Paul's offering, was that it was just something to get curious about. And now this is all the work that I do, right? With the curiosity map and getting curious, to be able to pull the lens back, have a look at what's going on in a less detached way, to then help your brain function and order, keep the thinking part of your brain involved, and to find solutions to your perceived problems. So this list of 7 key relationships in order from 1 to 7 is an offering that I would like to offer you as well, just to consider. Imagine if you put your relationships in an order, how that would work for you to show up, and how that would feel on the inside for you and your relationships in your life. Because let's be real, it is actually our experiences in our relationship that create the experiences of our life. Without being in relationship with other people, we wouldn't be able to have any kind of contrast, have any kind of opportunity to learn and grow and look at ourselves. It really is the vehicle for your own personal growth and development. And for me, I think spiritual evolution, which is my main priority in life, to be able to have that, it wouldn't be possible without the relationships in your life, because we could just live in a vortex, right? So we could go and live in a cave in the mountain in the Himalayas. And I would really like to do that, by the way. But I think that the challenge, certainly for most of us in the Western world and those of us living the householder life, and this day and age, literally I'm speaking in a broader sense, the age that we're living in, and I might do another video about that at another time, the yogic ages that we're living in, with all of the studies that I have looked at into the yogic philosophy. The age that we're at is the challenge is to be in this world, but not of it. Think about that. Can you be in the world and not of it, and still spiritually evolve and come in contact with something bigger than you? Now, this is a perfect segue into the first of the 7 key relationships. I'm not going to tell you that you need to organize these yourself. These are in a particular order that Dr. Paul has offered to just have a look at how you're showing up in your life. So the first of the 7 key relationships is your relationship with your Creator. Now, just as he says, I don't intend to be your spiritual guide, although I would like to be there for you as someone that you feel safe that you could come and talk to about where you're at with your spirituality and just the meaning of life and where you think that you stand in the great scheme of things. But while I won't advise you, I'm here for you. And I really do believe that the first and foremost important relationship for me, and have a think about how this is for you, needs to be how you think that you're connected in the bigger picture of what is this world, and what is this universe, and what is this. big question to start with. Like, it may be a big question, but if you can settle within yourself, I personally have this belief at the moment from the work that I've been doing here in the last 5 years. It's really amazing to me that I feel that the root cause of all the insecurities or the fear or the anxiety, all of the conflict and the turmoil that we feel on the inside really comes down to the fact that we don't have faith that there is something greater than us that is holding us. There is something bigger than us that we are connected to. I actually have this picture on the fridge that I've created for my kids when I was trying to explain what the Creator could be for us. People talk about God, people talk about the universe, people talk about, depending on if you're a particular religion, people can be talking about Allah, people can be talking about Dharma, people can be talking about anything that is bigger than you. But when I was trying to explain it to my kids, because I really do want them to have an ability to form their own thoughts and feelings about what that might be for them, without enforcing anything particular on them, I drew a big light bulb on a piece of cardboard and I put rays coming out of the light bulb and people and things around the outside that were also the same color as the rays that were coming from the light bulb. So the light bulb was yellow and blue and it was emitting yellow light that was then over the people and things that were around the outside of the picture. And I said to my boys, this is to me what God is. God is like a huge light bulb. It's not a thing or a person. This is just my personal opinion. It is an energy and a light that emanates from, that is so big that we can't even see it. But I think it's like a big light bulb that encompasses everything that is. And the rays come out and we are all a part of that. Everything that exists, that lives in this world, is a part of that. And therefore we are unified together, but we also have our separate little spark. And from that place, we can actually realize that if there is one thing or many things that we come across in life and we think we cannot solve, I've said to my boys, take a deep breath and exhale, and then imagine that the light bulb is your friend that you can talk to, even though they're not human, something you can talk to that can still communicate with you in a way through your feelings. And we ask the light bulb, as you grant me your peace, help to give me light and clarity to whatever it is my problem is. And that is what works for me. That is what works for my children at this time. And we could go on to talk about different religions and different different things look. I personally am a member of the Self-Realization Fellowship and a Kriya Band of the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, which is why I've studied very deeply the yogic traditions. And so it's something that we could talk about, I suppose, ongoing, depending on your own personal thoughts and feeling. And even if you're interested or if you're curious about what might be out there, if you don't have any fixed or firm ideas. But we need to start thinking about these things, whether we're talking about them specifically or not. How are you thinking about these things? And how are you showing up? Do you feel like the light bulb has got your back? Do you feel like you're doing this all on your own? Because that's when it's the heaviest and the hardest, when people think that they are 100% responsible for every little thing that's happening in their lives. That's a huge responsibility. It's going to feel really heavy in the body. It's going to be creating noise in the mind. It's going to be releasing negative emotion into the body. It's going to be feeling really heavy. And then how are you going to show up? It's not going to be fun. And I know sometimes people say to me, oh, life's not all about fun, Jade, but why not? Now, there are, of course, times you don't necessarily want to be engaging in fun. There are times where there's grief. There are times where there's hormonal imbalances. There are times where there's emotional upheaval and exhaustion. you don't necessarily be wanting to find fun in those things, but you want to find peace. And from peace, on the other side of peace is joy, regardless of your grief, regardless of your hormonal upheavals or your emotional challenges. And I speak this from a place that I've personally experienced it, that I still don't have a lot of words to articulate, except the more I do this work, the better I'm getting at it. And that's why these videos are completely not scripted or formatted in any way. I just want to sit down and have a real conversation with you about things that work for me, work for my clients, resonate so deeply, formulate these ideas to be able to get them out into the world so that they might be able to help you as much as they've helped me. So that is key relationship number 1. Have a think about it. Your relationship with your creator, whatever that means for you. Relationship number 2 is your relationship with yourself. This is number 2. You have to have a relationship with yourself. This has become a little bit more mainstream now. People are talking about how to be your own best friend. People are talking about how your relationship with yourself matters. I do find that the more work that I do for myself and the more work I do with my clients, the inner dialogue that we're having with ourselves makes all the difference. Because it's our thoughts that we know that if we're having thoughts that we really believe, they're releasing chemicals into our bloodstream, and those chemicals are turning into feelings that then tells our body what to do. So if our thoughts are creating our feelings, that's telling our body how to show up in our day-to-day life, then of course it's going to have 100% impact over how we're experiencing our life, whether it's going to be good. I don't like the words good and bad because everything is neutral, but your perception of it, whether it's going to feel peaceful, whether you're going to be able to find the joy on the other side of the difficult circumstances or the gratitude to be able to move through them, to be able to access the better version of yourself, to be able to live a happy life. I mean, that's really the goal. There's this Chinese proverb that I have to try and remember properly that talks about how happiness is the goal for every human being, and happiness can be accessed through peace, which is not the absence of hard things. I'm totally paraphrasing. It's not the absence of hard things, but it's the absence of your ability to know. It's the absence of you being churned up internally. It's an unruffled inner world despite the noise happening on the outside and around you. I hope I got the essence of that out right. So it is really important to be able to have a good connection with yourself, your internal dialogue, that's creating the chemistry for you on the inside, that's creating how you experience your life, to be able to get to that place. And as I said, we don't live in happiness all the time. It's not realistic. It's not, we're not talking about eliminating negative emotion, because we can't experience positive emotion without negative emotion. We have to have one to experience the other. But it's about being able to find peace within that. It's about being able to, when life comes at you, really at you, and you feel completely railroaded and knocked off your feet, you can get up, you can dust yourself off, and you can feel clear and calm and centered, knowing that you know how to move forward and that you will be okay. Because when I was at this stage hitting my rock bottom, I didn't know if I was going to be okay. It was like the first time in my life I'd been through hard things. My 20s, finding myself, in my 30s, having my babies, and in my 40s, I got to that point. I was like, I don't actually know if I'm going to be okay. And that was scary. And that was the time that I found everything that I do now, turned it all around. So our key relationship number 2 is our relationship with ourself, paying attention to the internal dialogue, paying attention to how you treat yourself and how you are showing up for yourself, because you need to have yourself. You need to have your back for yourself first and foremost. Think about your best friend, or think about someone closest to you. Even think about who you look after and care for the most in the kindest way. You're not perfect. We still yell at our kids. We still argue with our spouses. We still can say some yucky, nasty things to people that are close to us and people that are not at certain times in our lives. We're not perfect. But within us, deep inside, there is a pilot light that's connected to the light that's connected to the light bulb. We're being held, and how are you holding that space for yourself is the most important thing, because the way that you talk to yourself is the way that you're going to show up. And that is the biggest thing that's changed for me, for sure, is that now when I do something like binge eat or scream at my kids or do something that I think is completely silly and then try and hide it and cover it up, something that I know my husband will get cranky for, I'm learning to laugh at myself and go, oh my God, I love you so much. You're so scared that your husband's going to find out about that, or you're so worried that what your kids, are going to think about you, or whether you've hurt them. Or I just love you that you care about your kids so much. I just love you that you felt that you didn't know what you needed today, so you ate a whole pack of chocolate coated almonds in the fridge. I love you for that. Let's go, future Jade, into trying to make it better for yourself, for the future. And I know I've got my back, and I just now look in the mirror every morning and go, oh, you're doing amazing. I love you. And that has changed the quality of my life so much that I can't even explain. You've got to be able to talk to yourself with love and connection and kindness. That's your second key relationship. Your third key relationship is your life partner or your spouse. If you don't have a life partner or spouse, then you skip this one. But it is the third relationship on the list of key relationships. It is the person that you have chosen to spend your life with, to connect with ongoingly. This is, and if you're in a space where you just can't see that or how that is the way it's meant to be, because a lot of people say to me, but my children come first, but my parents come first, but my fill in the blank if there's something else that you think that should come first. Some people have got this list upside down, by the way, as we go through it. Some people say, but my job comes first because it's really important with what I'm doing in the service that I'm giving in the world. There are so many things that are important, but if we can have this perspective, it might actually be helpful to you to be able to figure out why you're feeling disconnected and in discord with your relationships. And for me, my mum was living with us in our house. Our kids were at that really, as I said, bright stage and challenging stages that they're always at the time that they're living with you at home. And I was having trouble showing up in my marriage the way that I wanted to be. And look, if you go back and look at one of the previous videos where I tell the whole story, you would have known too that there was the pandemic off the back of the bushfires, off the back of the pandemic, off the back of we had a flood, a cyclone and a flood that completely obliterated our entire town. We were lucky to have our home. There were so many things happening in the outside world that I figured were the reason for why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. It was actually the thoughts that I was having about those external things which were creating my experience. And in this particular scenario, when you think about what are we going to have for dinner, and I was in the supermarket having my freezer freeze moment, that's just exactly how I felt every day at home. I didn't know whose needs to meet first. And I say that and I catch myself because I remember saying that to Dr. Paul once, and he was like, hang on, whose needs do you have to meet? Well, nobody's responsible for meeting anybody's needs. You have to meet your own needs. You are number 2 on your list. But at the time, I still had this limited perspective that I had to meet the needs of other people. Now, you can support other people. You can 100% support other people. It's not your job to meet their needs. Think about that one. We're going to come back to it. Maybe not in this video because I tend to get excited, maybe in another one, but it is important to have a think about that concept and about that differentiation between supporting people, being there for them and holding space, and meeting their needs, what they feel that they need and they want, and their expectations of you in their life. So I quite often in my house at that time knew that my husband needed this, my children needed that, my mother needed this, and the anxiety and the panic was just building. And of course nobody knew because I've also told the story that my first occupation was in the entertainment industry, working as an actor, and so I learnt really well how to be an actor in my life. And I'm sure that nobody thought that anything was wrong at the time. And sometimes I look back at some of the photos and I'm happy and I'm smiling, and we went camping and we did this, and I was like, wow, I was so miserable on the inside, but you would never know it to don't know if you can relate to that at all. So I was having an internal meltdown where I was trying to figure out who, what, and dinner time was really my most stressful thing because my husband would come home and he would be really hungry and I would want to feed him first. But my kids were also a priority, of course, but then they wanted different meals. And at the time, I just wanted everyone to be happy. So I was like, okay, I'll make you that and I'll make this, but it's not going to be ready at the same time. And then my mom needed to eat her food with her tablets and she had to have that at a specific time. And it wasn't always the same time my husband was coming home. It wasn't always the same time the food was ready for my kids. And so I was not only creating 4 or 5, and then because I was so stressed out, some people do binge eat when they're stressed out. Most of the time I don't. I actually don't eat. Over time, I've done things like eat a bag of chocolate-coated almonds when I'm feeling stressed out, but that is kind of an anomaly for me. Most of the time I then don't eat for days and then I go, oh, why do I feel so loopy? So then I would realize, no, though, I was trying to look after myself. I have to eat something, but then I didn't want anything that I'd made anybody else. So I'd prepare something else for myself, but then I wouldn't eat it. And the cycle continues. Dinner time was very stressful at this time. Imagine me freezing in the freezer section at the supermarket. When I came across this offering of Dr. Paul's, number 1, you create it. Number 2, yourself. Number 3, your spouse. That makes sense to me. This is my life partner. Yes, my mother has sacrificed her life to have me, to bring me up, to look after me. She's on the list. I'm going to get to her. So are my kids. But number 3 is my spouse. He's my life partner who I'm going to attend to first to make sure that I feel that I'm supporting him. And in that way, I'm supporting myself. Who's number 4 on the list? The children. The children are number 4. And I've definitely seen it with clients who say, oh, no, my children come first. I love my spouse, but my children come first. I just haven't seen that work well for any relationships. And it's not a judgment, and it's completely up to you what you do with this list of 7 things. But I have found that when people do put their children first, their marriage or their partnership doesn't last. And that could be fine because there's some times where relationships are complete. And I've had conversations with dear friends who have said that they've found they feel like their intention for coming together with their partner was to have their children, and now they've had their children, they can still co-parent, they can still be in their children's lives, but that part of their relationship as a partnership is over. They feel like that has made their relationship complete, and they can't see how they're going to support each other to move on to be better versions of themselves and support each other for their own personal growth and development in the future. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You have to find it for yourself. But it's good to know that sometimes I do coach people, beautiful women who say, oh, if I'd have thought about it this way, things might have been different. And then if they look back in retrospect, there are some women who look back and think, I would have liked things to have worked out with my partner, and I'm really sad that they didn't. And they can see that it's because the children were put first before their relationship that things started to unravel and fall apart. Number 5 on the list is your extended family, and that includes anyone who's in your immediate family that's not your spouse or your children. That's your mom, that's your dad, that's your stepmom, your stepdad, that's your siblings, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunties, grandparents. Who else is in your extended family? Have I covered everything? It's kind of everyone who would be in your immediate family that's outside of your spouse and your children come into number 5. They're not any less important. This is not an order of importance. This is an order of offering, of triaging your time and your energy to be able to show up in the relationships as you want to. Fully present and fully available to be the person you want to be and support the other person to be the person that they want to be as well. So then for me, my mum was number 5. Now I didn't say, Mum, you're number 5. You're just going to have to wait to get your meal, get your tablets. don't have to say these things out loud. Some people find it liberating and they think that, and find it that it's helpful. I knew it wasn't going to be helpful in this particular circumstance. My mum wouldn't appreciate being called number 5 on my list of key relationships, but because I knew she was still on my list, and I knew that once I'd sorted out whatever I felt I needed to support my spouse and my children, I was going to get to her and she was going to get what she needed. And just having that for myself, that thought, I'm going to get to her, she's going to get what she needs, no one's going to miss out, that recalibrated my entire nervous system. I started to feel safe again. I started to feel capable again. I started to feel more connected with myself again so I could show up for these people as I really wanted to. That was number 5, is your extended family. Creator, self, spouse, children, extended family. This is also, Dr. Paul tells this amazing story of this woman who had such a strong relationship with her sisters. She put it above the relationship with her spouse and her children. And that didn't work out well. So it's a matter of you evaluating how this might work for you. I have actually put it to some clients who have looked at it, stepped back from it. There was a couple I can think of too, particular from a retreat experience where I made this offering and they were like, no, absolutely not. But they were curious and they continued to look at it. And I know one of them just decided to give it a go, see how it would work out in her life if she was to look at things this way. And she found it life-changing. She emailed me and she said, thank you so much. I never heard back from the other one, but this might not work for everybody in terms of how it feels for you on the inside, but consider it. Consider how you're putting your relationships in order and how it's working out for you. I have to say that, before I go on to number 6 and 7, that all I really did was stick this list on my fridge and look at it every day and get curious about it. And then when I found that, if I support my spouse and my children and my mother, that got me out of my fight and flight and freeze from my dinner time experience to put me in a better place to show up for them. And that's when I started thinking there's something in that. And I started thinking about it more consciously. Got another story to tell you at the end about so amazing. Number 6 is other people. Other people are your colleagues. They're the people that are in your school community, your church community, or your spiritual community, or your whoever else is in your life, your neighbors, people that you run into, people that work for you at the supermarket. Like when I got to the checkout, my freezer freeze moment, and the supermarket ladies know me so well by now. I go with my kids all the time, and they could actually see, they could tell, I'm sure, that I'd been crying, and one of them was just particularly attentive by, do you want me to carry your bags, love? Do you want me to move it into the trolley, or will I stack it this way, or will I put these in with these things? And that was very kind. These are all people in your life that are still in your life. They're number 6 on the list, but they're number 6. Number 7 are things. It is very important to have a relationship with things, with money, with your home, with your possessions, with your house, with your job, with the material things that are in your life. Having a relationship with things is very important. And it's good to know that they are number 7. Now, sometimes I get to the end of this list and people say, where do my friends fit in? Well, they fit in at number 6. They're other people, they're friends. But I do have to say that I have friends that I would put in with my extended family because they have been friends for so long. They're like cousins, they're like sisters to me. There are some of my dearest friends who probably know more about me than my sisters. So again, this is not like this is how it is. This is like a choose your own adventure, but consider it. And I know that since I've put things in this order, my life is so much more balanced and so much more peaceful, which brings so much more joy. So as I said, sometimes people put these lists the opposite way. around. They think about their job and their money and their house and their things first, and then their friends and their other people in their lives, their colleagues, the people that they're living their day-to-day with, if they're working a lot or if they're showing up a lot in their community. And then extended family, intermediate family, children, spouse, self, and creator. It's often in this society, I do find we've often got the list around the other way. Just have a think about how it's working for you. And the only other little story that I wanted to add on to the end of this was that having it on my fridge for me was life-changing. Simply, as I said already, that I just used it to help me get out of my dinner time panic and back into myself. And then I started looking at it very consciously, implementing more meditation for me in my life, more positive self-talk, more time with my spouse, time to heal, dedicated time with my children, dedicated time with my mum, being able to help just support and be with her, which I'm so grateful for now because she passed away only a few months later. So the fact that I was able to get to that point and find a place where I felt like truly connected with myself and also with her shakes me up a little bit still, but I feel really grateful that I found this at the right time for me. So this list was on our fridge. For probably about 6 months, my husband started to notice it. What's this? 7 key relationships. Well, that's interesting. I never explained it once. Did not explain it to him. He didn't ask, really. He was just curious. And then I think he started figuring it out on his own. And he would say, oh, yeah, right. So, and once I think he did say, so this is a list in order of, relationships in our lives. I said, yes, and this is sort of the order that I'm going on to make sure that I feeling connected with all the people in my life. Cool, he said. Now, every Sunday, no, not every Sunday, the first Sunday of every month, I would go, this was at the time, I would go to my sister's house and have lunch, and I would take my mum out there and we would go out, we would have lunch and we would just have a little bit of a catch up. And I used to have to drag my husband there, and it was kind of painful because even though he loves my sister and he and my brother-in-law would get on so well, often they were both very busy, and so my brother-in-law would go off to do work and my husband would be like, oh, I could be doing lots of other work. And then my mum and my sister and I, we would just sit and we would chat, and I'm sure it did get very boring for him. So he would say, I'll come every so often, but it was just a little bit much. Sometimes he had to work, sometimes he had to look after something at the house. And before I knew the 7 key relationships, I would be very cranky that he wouldn't come. Why aren't you coming? You need to come. But as I started to look at the 7 key relationships, I realized that he was actually looking after himself to say, right now I need to not come because I want to do something else that's going to be more fulfilling for me. This is fulfilling for you, which was the truth. And also sometimes he did have to work if it was a Sunday. As nurses, we just work 7 days a week on a rotating roster, so you don't have a choice sometimes. So I began to appreciate and respect that he was making the choice to either work for us and for our family or to do something that he felt that he needed to do. So I backed off, and I didn't make him, drag him come every Sunday that we went. But there was this one Sunday that I'll always remember, that he was free. We were heading off. I didn't even ask him. I'd stopped asking him. Organize my mom. Come on, Mom, we're getting ready to go. Organize the kids. We're getting ready to go. And my husband had been looking at the fridge, and he'd been looking at the list of 7 key relationships, and he said, yeah, our family is really important, and I should be nurturing these relationships a lot more than I am. I'm going to come. And so he gets ready to come without me even saying anything. And it's so funny, my actual first reaction was resistance, because I was like, no, we've actually set it up now so that the brother-in-law's not there, and me and my mum and my sister just have a good old yarn, and the kids go off and play. Like, we don't need you. We actually don't need you. Hilarious. But then I stopped and I realized that he's wanting to nurture this part of his relationship. He's making the conscious choice for himself, and that feels good for him. He was in such a jovial mood. My brother-in-law happened to be there too, and they ended up going off in the ute and doing stuff around the property. I didn't even know what they did, and they came back, and I look back and I think, well, that's hilarious. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. You just have to plant some seeds and they will grow on their own. So that's a story that I wanted to share just to end this video. I do hope that you find these 7 key relationships as an offering that's helpful and useful to you in your life, to showing up. If you've ever had a freezer moment like I had, what are the 7 key relationships? And we're going to go backwards like this: your creator, yourself, your spouse, your children, your extended family, including parents, grandparents, siblings, cousins, uncles, aunties, other people, including colleagues, friends, neighbors, community members, and things: your job, your money, your material possessions, your house, etc. Have a think about how you are showing up for those things in your life and how they are showing up for you. And if you're not happy, if you're happy, just completely, you can disregard anything that I've said if it doesn't resonate with you, of course. Carry on. But if you're not happy, you might want to consider this one person that I had that really didn't like, putting things in order. When they just considered the fact that they were actually miserable and anxious all the time, perhaps if you just stick it on your fridge, like I did, and have a look at it, you might find that it works in a way that you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to go around and telling people that they're number 2, 3, or 4, or 5, or 6. You just have to have the consciousness and awareness within yourself. It's inside that the changes happen. It starts to just slightly rewire your thinking, that then starts to release different chemicals into your body, and those feelings that then manifest as a result of those thoughts will help you show up in a different way that might feel better, more peaceful, bring more joy, connection, fulfillment. Something to consider today. Remember to own your path, create your peace. Any more information you can always find in the links in the description below. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you in the next video.